First, you're going to start off by drawing a line that goes straight across the middle of your paper. You can also do it above the middle line. This will be your horizon line. Next, you're going to draw a tiny X in the middle, and this will be your perspective point. Later on, you will erase this X. The perspective point is where everything's going to go back to. You're going to use that perspective point to create lines that will make the field. At the end of the paper to your right, you're going to create a small barn. This barn is going to create the illusion that the other half is running off the paper. Reverting back to the perspective point, you're going to start to add the lines to the field. You will notice that when you get closer to the perspective point, the lines seem a little narrower, which is going to create the illusion of a far effect. It's going to look as if the front is closer and everything's bigger, and then as you go further, everything gets smaller. Next, you're going to add an extra line at the end of the field. This line is going to separate the field with the fence, and on the other side of the fence is another field. When creating your fence, notice that the pieces of the fence are smaller towards the sun, and they gradually get bigger as they go to the opposite side of the paper. This is also creating that perspective where it seems like as you get further away, everything gets smaller. You will notice that I added that little extra small piece of fence that's towards the sun, just because I wanted to create more of a big to small ratio. Next, I go in and create a part of a fence that connects all these pieces together. I create another bottom piece. I added an extra piece to the fence just because it looked a little awkward to me. Next, on the opposite side of the fence, I create another perspective X that will help me distinguish where the lines will go. The lines will go in separate ways compared to the first field that we created. On the first field that we created, you're going to create a scarecrow. First, you're going to create the stick that the scarecrow is pinned to. After, you will create the head of your scarecrow. You can create any shape of head that you would like for your scarecrow. This is just a demonstration that you can use if you would like. Then you're going to move on to adding details to your scarecrow, such as his shirt, any patches if you would like, his hands, his hat, eyes, nose, and mouth. Added clouds to the sky just because my sky looked a little plain. I also went on to add birds. You are free to add any of this step, or if you want to incorporate your own way of adding detail to your sky, you may. On the dirt field, I created different kinds of pumpkins, different sizes and different styles of pumpkins. This just helped add more of that harvest feel towards the fields. Next, I just wanted to add a little bit more detail to the field, so I added little green pieces of plant. It could be a seed, it could be whatever you want. Just use your imagination. I looked at my Scarecrow shirt and I wanted to add more detail. I added little hashtag marks to make the shirt look a little scuffled, and I also added on little patterns and created lines. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. My Scarecrow was also looking a little lonely, so I decided to give him a little bird on his shoulder to give him a little friend. I decided to add a silo onto my barn, and this can be where farmers usually store their grain and any type of object they would like to store inside of it. Using the red colored pencil, I decided to color it in and add water to create that watercolor effect. There's two separate ways that you can use it. Just watch and see the two different ways that you can. If you want to avoid using a paintbrush, all you gotta do is add water to your color pencil after you use it, or after you color it in, and it can be this color, but I found that it's most helpful and most useful, and it also looks better when you use the brush. Next, you're gonna use your yellow watercolor pencil, color it in, and depending on which method you wanna use, go ahead and add that. Next, you're gonna add the brown to your field, and avoid coloring any object that is not the field. So you just want to color around those objects such as your scarecrow, the pumpkins, the hands, and so on. Here's an example of what the brown would look like, or in general any color, would look like if you added the water to your paintbrush and went over that watercolor pencil. You just want to make sure that you avoid any of the objects that are not meant to be that specific color, but if you happen to get color on a different objects, it's okay because you're always going to go over it with another color. Here is how it looks when it's a little bit dry. It's still drying, so you're going to repeat that same process for the rest of the field. As you can see, I went over the seeds, which is fine because I'm going to go over it again later. Next, you're going to begin to shade in your pumpkins, then you're going to go over it with the water. I also decided to add orange to my scarecrow's face along with a patch on his shirt. I decided to add watercolor to my pumpkins and the scarecrow's face, but not that patch that was on the scarecrow's shirt. Next, I decided to color in the sky. I also made sure to trace the clouds just so that I would avoid coloring inside of the clouds. If you happen to color or get watercolor inside the clouds, that's perfectly fine. Next, you're going to start to outline all the lines in the field. You will also shade in your scarecrow's eyes, nose, and mouth. You will begin to outline each one of your pumpkins along with the stem. You're also going to outline your barn along with the silo. Since I added seeds earlier and they got covered by the brown watercolor, I just decided to go back and add them on, making sure to avoid adding any green to my scarecrow's arm. Next, I colored in my scarecrow's stick and made sure to outline it with black colored pencil. As you can see, for the scarecrow along with the stick, I am avoiding using any watercolor and just coloring it in like regular colored pencils. Now you're going to start to work on your scarecrow's details, the hands, the shirt, the hat, hair, everything. Just a reminder that the scarecrow will not be watercolored. Everything about his detailing will be colored just with the color pencils like you would usually do. Again, for any detailing on the scarecrow, it is totally your preference to do what colors you would like. You can change up the colors that I use, you can use different colors than I use, or you can use the same colors that I use. It's up to you. After you're done with coloring, make sure to use your black colored pencil to outline everything about the scarecrow. As you move on, just make sure to outline everything that needs to be outlined with the black colored pencil. Don't forget to outline your clouds and also color in your birds. Don't forget to outline your horizon line in black. As you can see, I messed up, so I just decided to go along with it and create birds. Next, you're going to color in the field along with the fence. Avoid what I did and do both at the same time. So color in the fence and the field both with brown, then go in with your paintbrush and add the water to create the watercolor. And lastly, you're going to make sure to outline everything with black, everything else that remains.